Can someone wait? "16 people. Where's the rest of you? What was the subject before me? Do you have any subject before me? "22. Guys, I need more than that. Please, let's just wait. Those who just got here, let's take out your class book and take a look on page 62. You can just, read it first. You can just go through what we're gonna study today first while we wait for your friends. Right, only 26 of you here. Okay, I'm not gonna wait anymore. I just want you all to get into this lesson because this lesson will be in the unit test as well for unit 7 about food chain. All right, about food chains. So before we go into the lesson, let's just watch the video about the food chains.
No matter where on earth you go, living things are connected to each other. From the tiniest of organisms to the largest of creatures, all living things need energy to survive. So where does that energy come from? Well, Matter and energy passes from one organism to another, connecting living things like links in a chain. A food chain. Of course, a food chain is not an actual chain. It's a way to talk about the relationships between organisms and show how matter and energy flow between living things. Every living thing on Earth is part of a food chain, including you, and most things are part of more than one. All of the energy in Earth's food chains comes from the sun. The sun's energy reaches the Earth as light and heat, and plants capture some of it and convert it into food through photosynthesis. Because plants make or produce their own food from the sun's energy, they are called producers. Every food chain must begin with a producer. For example, grass. That's because animals cannot create their own food. They must eat or consume energy from other sources. That's why animals are called consumers. The second link in a food chain is a consumer that eats plants, an herbivore. When an animal eats plants, some of the energy the plant captured from the sun is transferred into the animal's body, where it is used for things like moving, breathing, and growing. An herbivore is called a primary consumer. Primary means first, because an animal eating plants is the first consumer in the food chain. Let's add a rabbit to our food chain. Next comes a secondary consumer, the second consumer in the food chain. This consumer is a carnivore and gets their energy by eating other animals. Maybe our rabbit will get eaten by a fox. When the fox eats the rabbit, part of the energy that the rabbit got from the grass is transferred to the fox. This is the end of this simple food chain. The rabbit eats the grass, then the fox eats the rabbit. The energy that came from the sun is captured by the grass, transferred to the rabbit, and then transferred to the fox. Some food chains are longer than this one, but there can't be too many links in a food chain. Each animal in the food chain uses up a lot of the energy from the previous level instead of passing it on, meaning that only about 10% of the energy consumed by an animal will be passed on to the next level. Let's take a look at a longer food chain that also begins with grass. This time, let's make our primary consumer a grasshopper. The grasshopper eats the grass and then gets eaten by a secondary consumer, a bluebird. Then the bluebird gets eaten by a tertiary or third level consumer, a snake. The snake is eaten in turn by an owl. The owl is the apex predator in this food chain. Apex predators are not hunted and eaten by any animals. We say that they are at the top of the food chain. You probably recognize a lot of apex predators like lions, sharks, eagles, and crocodiles. Just because they don't get eaten doesn't mean that they don't contribute to the food chain, however. When an animal dies, their body is broken down by decomposers. Decomposers are usually bacteria and fungi that break down dead plants and animals into nutrients in the soil, that in turn help the plants at the beginning of the food chain to grow. It's the circle of life. Natural ecosystems usually have more complicated food chains, however. A network of interconnected food chains is called a food web. The arrows are used to show which direction the energy flows and help keep track of the connections between organisms. Now that you understand a little bit more about food chains, see if you can find the connections between living things around you.
Okay, that was all about the food chains. Okay. Did you hear the sound that is like getting into the video?
Yes, teacher.
Yes. Can you hear like someone speaking Thai, speaking through the video? Or no? You just hear this one, right? You don't get any disturb, right? Anyways, food change. Okay, only 27. Right, let's take a look on page 62. Page 62. Let's take a look on the main vocabularies that we're gonna learn. Look, listen, and then repeat. Okay.
Listening 2.53. Look, listen, and repeat. Producers,
Okay, producers. Can you say it? Producers.
Producer.
Okay.
consumers,
Consumer.
Right, consumers.
herbivores,
Herbivore.
Herbivores. Okay.
omnivores,
Omnivores.
Annual.
carnivores,
Carnivores.
Carnivore.
Good. Right, so now we're gonna listen and then read through it, okay? Listen, read, and then answer.
listening 2.54. Listen, read, and answer.
Producers. Plants get energy from the sun. They use this energy to grow and to make food for some animals. We call plants producers because they produce food. Consumers. Animals get energy from their food. They eat plants or other animals. We call them consumers because they consume food. Herbivores only eat plants. Omnivores eat plants and animals. Carnivores only eat animals. Are you a herbivore, an omnivore, or a carnivore?
What are you? Herbivore, omnivores, or carnivores? Omnivores. What are we?
Omnivore.
What are we? Do you get it? What are you? Are you herbivore, omnivore, or carnivore? Yes, we are omnivores. We can eat both plants and animals, right?
Food chains. These are food chains. They show what animals eat. A deer eats grass, and then a lion eats the deer. The arrows show how energy moves from one living thing to another. The grass gives energy to the deer, and then the deer gives energy to the lion. All food chains start with a producer. What are the producers in these food chains?
What are the producers in these food chains? Can you tell what are the producers in this food chain? It is grass and maize, right? The producer are plants that, you know.
Decomposers. Flies, worms, and ants eat dead plants and animals. They are called decomposers. They can eat everything in the food chain. Some animals eat decomposers too.
Right, one of the famous decomposers that we know is a mushroom, right? It always grow on the date logs of trees or leaves. They'll just eat anything that is died.
Food webs. We can join food chains together to make a food web. The food web on the next page shows some food chains in a wood.
Right. These are food web. That means like this is food chains, right? Just like one chain, but when the chains connected all together, we can say it's a food webs. Right, on the next page, this one on page 63, read the text on page 62 again, and then write true or false. Okay. Do this one, please. How are we doing? Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1. Plants get energy from the sun. True or false?
True.
Food gives animals energy.
True.
Number 3. Carnivores eat plants.
False.
False. Carnivore eats meat. Right? Herbivores don't eat other animals.
True.
True. Omnivores eat other animals.
True.
So true. All food chains start with a consumer.
True. False.
False. All food chains start with producer, right? Next one. Snakes get energy from hawks.
True. False.
False. It's the other way around, right? It's a hawk that gets energy from the snake because hawks eat snakes. Decomposers eat dead plants and animals.
True.
It's true. Okay, so this article is quite hard, but I think you can do it because I think you probably have studied this subject in science, right? You probably have learned about it already. So I'm going to include this into the Unit 7 test as well. So I suggest you to go back and read it up again, see if is there anything that you don't understand, and then we'll talk about it. Okay? All right. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. All right. There we go. So if you don't have any questions, I will continue this again tomorrow. And then we'll finish Unit 7. So get ready for the unit test next week. Okay, tomorrow gonna be a wrapped up and the test will be next week. All right. Okay. All right. If you don't have any questions, I'm gonna leave you here and have a great day, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.